The first thing you'll find in part one is the examiner will ask for your identification. You have to bring your ID or identification with you to prove you are who you say you are. They'll ask for your name and just basic information like that. Then they'll get into some basic questions about your life. So you'll get questions about your home. This could be, what kind of a home do you live in? Is it a house or a flat? That's very common. Or something about your hometown, your neighborhood. Your family, that's almost certain that you're going to get a question about your family. So whether this is your parents or your wife or husband or children, you'll get asked about your family. Maybe what jobs do your family members have? Or how many people are there in your family? And you'll get asked about work or school. Are you a student or do you work? So you'll have to be prepared to talk about these kinds of subjects. Now let's think about strategies for part one questions. Always answer the why. Don't just give those short answers. We want to expand them with details. So just ask yourself why. If they ask the question of what was your favorite subject in school, and your favorite subject was sports and physical education, then tell them why. Think about reasons why. I loved physical education, phys ed. I loved it because we could play my favorite sports, football and golf and tennis. We got to play my favorite sports during that time. And I sweat. Who doesn't like sweating? It just feels good. And physical exercise. You felt like you're outside when you're inside. It was, and sometimes you actually got to go outside, and so it was a joy. That was my favorite subject in school. So just think about reasons. Just build upon your answer with reasons. And we're going to look at some demonstrations of this. Sometimes part one questions will require you to describe when or where. When you're talking about an activity you do or something you've done in the past, it can be very useful to use time words to describe when. Those are words like never and always, sometimes, rarely, frequently, most of the time. Or they could be very specific, like every day or on the weekends. These kinds of phrases and words can really help you to describe what you're talking about when you're talking about yourself. Now, we'll be looking at an example of this when I demonstrate an answer. Just pay attention to how I use these words. And when you're answering a part one question, think to yourself, is this a question where it would make sense? It would be helpful to me to start using some of these when and where vocabulary words. Proper tense. This is an important one because you have to listen carefully to the questions. Is it past tense, present tense, or future tense? If the question is about the future, make sure you're using future tense. If it's about the past, make sure you're using past tense. And doing it for your whole answer, not just your first words in your answer, but for the whole answer, make sure you maintain the proper tense. And this isn't too difficult. It just takes some practice. So when you're practicing your answers to these part one questions, really, really pay attention to using the right tense. Present perfect Present perfect is a tense you use. There's simple and there's continuous. I mean, present perfect, simple would be like he has written a book, or he has studied for class. If you're to use present perfect continuous, you would say something like, he has been studying a lot lately, or he's been studying for his course. He's been studying for the IELTS exam. He has been writing a book. So either way, whether it's simple or continuous, you'll find that practicing the present perfect is a great help to you, because you can always use that for some of your Part 1 questions. And it just sounds good. That can actually raise your scores if you practice that. So you'll be able to watch me doing that in a demonstration answer. Bold choice. Make that bold choice. This is about improvisation, right? When you're kind of surprised by the question, and so just choose the first answer that comes to mind. The first thing that comes to your imagination, latch onto it, take it, and then give examples. Just run with it, okay? And we'll look at a few different questions that surprise me, and I will make some bold choices, so you can see exactly what that looks like. So those are some great Part 1 strategies. Now, if you're ready, watch me answering these questions. And then, after you've seen me answer questions using these strategies, I want you to practice giving your own answers to these questions. We'll see you in the next lecture.